Oh, did we lose Kevin again?
No, I'm still here.
No, that was the old Kevin going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Your clone.
The duplicate Kevin, finally went away.
Yeah.
Yay.
We can't stand having two of you now.
That's fair. I can't stand one of me, so.
Welcome to Preferred Enemies, the Warhammer 40k podcast that's got a lot of presents and a little bit of coal to dig through. I'm your host, Rob.
Kevin.
Dennis.
And Richard.
And as promised, I know last episode we said we were going to get to the Grotmas stuff that had been released up to that point, and then they dropped a balance data slate on us.
And Deathwatch.
And Deathwatch. So we were like, okay, we'll cover those. And now that it's been a couple of weeks, we have a lot more Grotmas stuff to get through. Not all of it. Sorry, World Eaters and Space Wolves players. We're not going to fit you in this episode.
Womp womp. Sad World Eater noises.
However, World Eaters not last because they're guaranteed for tomorrow.
True.
Space Wolves are last.
New edition announced on the 25th.
No, I like my theory. My theory is maybe they'll release a holiday like Logan Grimnar in a Santa outfit. He's already got a sleigh.
That is true. He has a sleigh, and they probably are going to use an excuse like Santa doesn't come until Christmas Eve. So,
see,
whether there's a model or not, special model or not, I think it's good enough. And I'm sure, I am positive someone has converted him to have a Santa hat.
I'm sure many people have.
Sure.
Yeah,
since it was joked about with his sleigh for years.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Stupid chariot rules.
But we are going to cover every Grotmas detachment that has been released up to this point. But first, the other thing we said we were going to talk about last episode, and we didn't, and so now we're going to, is the Amazon announcement / confirmation from GW and the secret level episode that was the Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 related episode they released for the Amazon secret level animated series. So as far as the Amazon Studios update, it is like this, because this came out like the day before we were recording.
Yep.
Our second part last time is this is extremely vague, but it does say the creative deal has been nailed. The guidelines are nailed down. There's going to be multiple stories. There's a legal announcement that they did link just to say they're pleased to announce that it has now agreed creative guidelines and reached a final agreement with Amazon Content Services for the adaptation of Warhammer 40,000 into films and TV series, together with associated merchandising rights. Production process in respective films and television may take a number of years.
Yeah, as it does.
Yeah, and they said it has taken a year to kind of sift through the entire 40k universe and figure out what they do and don't want to talk about and what they're going to work in. And they say it's going to be years until the first project, which is currently known as Project 1, is about to go in. Yo, very.
But it was neat that they mentioned like TV series and movies and multiple projects. So it does sound like if this hits, that there's enough momentum behind it that they've got like multiple ideas to try to truly make it like a cinematic universe type thing. So
yeah,
I'm very happy with it. I know there was a lot of hand wringing over the last couple of months because I think it leaked in like October that they had through the end of the year to consummate the deal, or like the rights expired and then it went back to square one. So there was a lot of people that were like, oh, the deal's dead, we're never going to get this.
Oh, yeah. It was the usual suspects kind of, doing the hand wringing and saying like, oh no, it's because of this, that, or the other policy. It's like, oh, look, they put female custodians in and now we'll never get an Amazon series. I mean, there were arguments like that. So it's just like, no, it's fine.
The thing I'll say about the 40k universe in there is it's big.
It's very big.
We can look at like the Rogue Trader video game, the Space Marine 2 video game. Those are completely different narratives with completely different storytelling. And that's what I'd be most exciting about, is explore different, like, sure, have a Space Marine story or have a brother versus brother story for like if they want to do a little chaos. But I would love to see an Inquisitor TV series type thing.
Well,
where
I think
you
somebody
can just
was
follow
even
him around.
Someone was even mentioning like the vastness of the universe and like the timeline that like in canon the Eisenhorn series takes place like 500 or 600 years before like the Indominus Crusade. Like all the stuff that is contemporary 40K is not only galaxy spanning, but it's also like several hundred years, easily. So yeah, it's incomprehensibly vast, and they can do whatever they want with it. And I'm absolutely looking forward to the people that are like, oh, they chose that, they're ruining the universe.
I mean, things I would love to see that I know I won't would be like, I would love to see a Votann story. I would love to see an Eldar story. I would love to see a Tau story.
Yeah.
But they are probably, if it goes well, they would probably be like the second tier things to come out, because they're going to focus on Space Marines and probably Imperium versus Chaos to start things.
Yeah, I want a live action Caiaphas Cain series. You give me that, and because that also touches on because he interacts with so many aspects of the 40K universe across the several books that he's in, that it's like, yeah, that'd be. In fact, I just finished one where I finished reading The Greater Good, which is the Guard, like the Imperium and the Tau are fighting over a planet, and then the tower is like, no, let's stop because there's a Tyranid hive fleet coming in. And so they decide, okay, we'll stop fighting. And then the Tyranids start moving towards a Forge world, which Cain gets sent to protect. And so you get Tau involved and the Tyranids, and there's a little bit of Gene Stealer cult action going on, and mentions of Space Hulks, and some Space Marines show up that Cain has worked with in the past, who he fought Necrons with, and it's like there's all these little bits and pieces work together. So it's like that series, if you want to introduce somebody to like all of 40K, but like piece at a time and from a very human level and with a good sense of humor, so it's not all grim, dark, dreary, and drab the whole time. Like that would be an ideal piece.
Or another weird idea would be in the vision of like Tales of the Crypt, Tales from the Black Library, where you just tell a supernatural story and they're all just one-shot stories from different weird things in the universe.
So basically a live-action version of what they've done with Hammer and Bolter over on Warhammer Plus, which is kind of that same vibe.
Yeah.
Except
it's
we
a cool
can have
series,
Harlequins leading it.
Yeah. Now, I will say one thing that would not necessarily be a good introduction to 40K if you are not familiar with it is the secret level episode, so I finally got a chance to sit down and watch it. I haven't watched the other episodes of Secret Level, although there's a few on the list, like the Armored Core one. I definitely want to watch because that one looks really good. I feel really bad for the Concord episode because that game doesn't exist anymore.
Ouch.
Yeah.
It survived like 2 weeks and then they pulled it and then canceled it a month later. It was so bad. Yeah, it did not do well. It cost Sony $250 million to produce that game. And it lived 2 weeks.
I don't understand. Sony is so good at making these business decisions and putting out like high quality movies and TV projects. I am
like Madam Web and Craven.
Craven the Hunter is so bad that I haven't even seen it yet. And I will watch anything.
Ooh, that is bad. Like, don't you have the Movie Pass that gives you free movies every week?
Yes.
And you still won't spend
I decided to pass. I decided to pass on it.
Oh boy, that's definitely a seal of non-endorsement.
If I go see the movie, they won't learn their lesson.
Are you the SpongeBob meme of how many times we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
I might be, because I might single-handedly be like a percentage of the domestic gross of Avengers. So anyway.
But anyway, so the Warhammer 40,000 episode of Secret Lair, it is straight up like an intro side story something to Space Marine 2. Where it fits timeline-wise, it's unclear, because he's already... It would have to be after, because he's already Primaris-fied. He's already a second lieutenant again. He's not a captain.
Yeah, what I heard was somebody was like trying to slide in the timeline. They basically saying that this is like the mission right after the video game ends. That this would be like the next mission that he was on, because there's some like at the end of the game there's some like setup for basically this mission. So I liked the animation. I thought it was very cool. It works much better as an introduction to the video game Space Marine 2 than to 40K as a whole.
Yeah, because if you did not know 40K, you are only going to know a tiny bit of it, and you're going to be very confused. Because the cult. So he fights some Tzeentch cultists and fights Zangors, and then fights, I'm guessing, a sorcerer or a demon. I'm guessing it's a sorcerer. It's very unclear the thing that he fights there at the end with the one eye.
Right.
But if you don't know anything about Tzeentch and cults and things like that, it's like, who are these people? Why are they fighting? On the other hand, the fights themselves are phenomenal.
Yeah, so I'm going to take that to the other side, because after I watched it, I also then watched some other reactions to it from people who did not know Space Marine or anything. And they were like, I need to know more about this stuff, because they said the fights were so cool that they wanted to dig in and learn more of the lore just because the spectacle was there.
It 100% gets the vibe, which is I think the thing it needed to do. Yeah, like Rob and I were talking about this right before we started recording. There's no easy way to get into 40K lore. Like, no matter what you're doing, you're going to be submerged in it, and you're going to have to learn quickly, and there's just stuff you're not going to get. So a show that is at least interesting, cool looking, and gets people to like want to learn more about the universe, that's perfectly great. That's fine. Right. That's great.
And I'm going to treat this kind of like, I'll say, the Final Fantasy 14 that I do play. They'll pull in anything from like old Final Fantasy things as like lore and fan service. So the people that know it are like, oh, cool, they pulled this. But the good stories and stuff they do is when they do that, but anyone who doesn't know the references still thinks it's a good story and really cool, and then can dig into that extra reference later. And I think this short did that for Space Marine, because it was such a spectacle. You didn't have to understand everything that was going on, because it made you have those questions like, why is he doing this? But the actions they took, they made sense in there. You just didn't understand the details, and that's kind of the hook to draw you in to learn more.
Yeah.
Also, something Kevin and I were talking about before recording was, where are our cultists on bikes, and where are our cultist tanks and our cultist cars?
Yes, I want
them all.
I want a Lehman Russ Punisher Chaos Tank right now. Get it on my desk by Monday, GW.
You can have that as soon as I get a Lehman Russ wearing two Lehman Russes as like footwear, wielding the turrets from two Lehman Russes, one as a melee weapon, one as a gun.
I mean, you can probably convert that. But no, it's like very, very cool stuff in here, and I think it's a really good appetite, like kind of to whet people's appetite for the stuff that's coming up and like for the live action stuff. But I think when they go to do an actual live action series, unless they're doing an anthology like Dennis mentioned, which could be a cool idea, if they're going to do like a narrative like TV series where it's like one consistent narrative, they need to have probably a more human level introduction. So we mentioned like Caiaphas Cain or Eisenhorn or Gaunt's Ghosts, something like that to introduce the world from a human perspective and then expand the scope out.
Or a brand new Inquisitor.
Or something brand new, but something along those lines.
Plenty of room for new stories too, Also, I want the pop-up Psychonaut box.
Yes.
I'm like, what is this box he's dragging around? Opens up, bing! There's a like navigator. Or an astropath or something, just in a box, which means it's also shows you how much the 40K universe sucks, because that guy had to get locked in a box, dropped through a drop pod, and drug around on a planet's surface.
He probably didn't feel anything. He's in the box.
To be fair to him, he did last on like 5 seconds on the battlefield, so it was probably worth
it. Lore accurate.
Right. Lived a miserable life and died a quick death. That's about as good as you can do in 40K.
Fair enough. All right, so we have a lot of detachments to get through. 28 at last count, somewhere around there, 27, 28. Well, 27 because we are not covering Deathwatch in this one.
Yeah.
We've already talked about that. But we have 27 detachments to get through. I guess next episode we'll cover the last two as a New Year's thing.
And do you know
the
what
best
sad thing
detachment
is?
and also Space Wolves.
The sad thing is I went through and of all, I guess, 30 of these when we're done, I have armies for 12 of them.
Yeah, we all have problems, Dennis. We're all hopelessly addicted to this game. As I'm working on painting up my next army that is
9, 10,
I'm still working on painting my Repentia
11,
for El Vivo in like 2 weeks.
12.
No, 3 weeks. 3 weeks. I have plenty of time.
13, 14, 15,
the fact that you're not
16.
stopping.
17, 18. Yeah, 18.
So,
Sorry.
Kev,
Go on.
for the next year and a half, you need to play a different faction every month, right?
No, I'm going to continue to play my World Eaters, but not my like main World Eaters army, my custom World Eaters army, instead of the other World Eaters army that I have. Or the older World Eaters army that I have. Anyway, we're going to stop talking about this and moving on.
You know what?
Wouldn't it
I
be
don't feel
funny
so
if
bad.
the World Eaters detachment was actually like a Tau thing that they did
Okay,
just for
I
Kev?
don't feel so bad now because I counted through, and if we include armies that I have models for that I haven't built, because like
Oh, I
I
wasn't
have some
doing-
yeah, if it's just stuff that I have built, I only have like I don't even get to an army I could technically play until Imperial Knights, and I don't have any Mechanica stuff to go with it. So I don't hit anything until day 12 with Chaos Space Marines.
Well,
and
I
then
would count the Imperial Knights then, because I'm the
Yeah,
same. I have the
yeah.
Imperial Knights, but I don't have Mechanicus.
Okay, so
I
that'd
couldn't
be
play the
for me. That would be
detachment, but I could play the
1,
army.
2, 3, 4. Are we counting armies or detachments?
I'm counting detachments because I've got
4.
a Death
5,
Guard army.
6.
I've got parts of a Dark Angels army because I acquired like some of the newer models. I've got Thousand Suns. I've got Necrons. I've got Deathwatch. I've got Imperial Agents because I have all of the assassins and all the Imperial Agent stuff. Custodes, Imperial Knights, Chaos Knights, Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines, Imperial Guard from like stuff that I've cobbled together so far. I don't have Slanesh Demons, Siege Demons. I have Nurgle Demons. I have Khorne Demons, Leagues of Votann, Sisters, Tau. Yeah, and then World Eaters when it comes around.
Yeah, see,
I
I
have
guess
a-
we
I have
got
a
three choice. Like Kevin was just saying, what can I build and play? And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, what can I play? And then Rob's like, well, what's a detachment that I? So yes, our
those are-
definition's wild.
those are all detachments that I have enough models to play with that I can
Okay.
play.
Richard, are you only have like 4, don't you?
Well, okay, I have
The ones we don't have.
I have Death Guard, I have Tyranids, I have Necrons, I have Deathwatch,
Yeah, Deathwatch.
Yeah.
I have Custodes, I have Grey Knights, I have Imperial Knights, I have Orcs, Astra Militarum, Gene Stealer Cults, Nurgle Demons, and I don't have any of them put together yet, but I do have a bunch of Sororitas like models.
Oh god, so you have 12.
Yeah, so 12's
Yeah.
the magic number.
Oh my god, am I the one with the least?
You've also
'Cause
sold off some armies. So.
I sold off my Death Guard, but like I don't have anything. Like I have a handful of Mechanicus models that are just like leftovers from past like charity army
Mhm.
projects, but they're not built, so I wouldn't count that as a playable army for me.
Yeah.
But I could throw them in with Imperial Knights. So I'll say I have Imperial Knights. I have Blood Angels, so I technically have Space Marines. So okay, I'll count that one. I
Yep.
have Chaos Space Marines. I'm not counting the Eldar because those are all bookmarked for the Raffle Army. I'm not
Sure.
counting that.
Right.
I have Slanesh Demons and Nurgle Demons. I have Sisters. I have Blood Angels. I have Tau. I only have 8. And technically, okay, I'll say 9 because
Those are-
I have the Chaos Knights army box that I still have to build. So I
Those are rookie numbers. You got to get those numbers up.
Well, and to be fair, like you said, the Eldari that Rob had is going to a charity.
Sure.
His Black Templars went to charity. Mechanicus went to charity. So if you count all the charities, he's in the same boat.
A few of these are like
Okay, I
armies that
never
like do
had a
double
mecha-
duty.
See,
Yeah.
now I never had a Mechanicus army. I never
Sure.
had a Mechanicus army.
You put it
myself.
together for the charity.
That doesn't count.
That's a lot of work.
It is, but I never played it.
Okay. We'll grant you that one.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
So Death Guard.
Yeah,
Anywho.
so let's start off. We're gonna do, like I said, days 1 through 12. Skipping Death Watch. So starting off with the Flyblown Host for the Death Guard, or as I put in my notes, Sneaky Scouty Stinky Infantry.
Fair enough.
Be-
It's a good
because
description.
because they have the rule: Death Guard infantry units from your army that are not embarked within transport have Scout 5 inches and Stealth abilities. Scout 5 inches is huge for them because they
Mhm.
need
The
all
full
the
movement.
they can.
Yeah.
They need all they can get. I mean, and while it doesn't give you the sticky objectives or the custom contagions that you get in their index detachment, it encourages you to play foot infantry, and it's all the infantry. You're not limited to like the not cultists or not bubonic astartes, things like that. It's like you want to play swarm of poxwalkers, they get this as well. Like I could definitely see running like typhus and some blobs of poxwalkers, and there are a couple of things in here like hey, do you want to run Myphitic Blight Haulers? There's a stratagem that gives you synergy with those, so it encourages you to take those as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it does, like, while it doesn't prevent you or doesn't deny you any abilities to use these on like poxwalkers or cultists, there is one stratagem, Enervating Onslaught, which can cause mortal wounds like when you charge into somebody, and you get better results on non-cultist, non-poxwalker units. So the idea is like big swollen plague marines charging into somebody and doing more damage to them.
So Rob, what's a character that has lots of wounds?
What, in Death Guard?
Yes.
Let's see, that like any character, or does it have to be
Infantry character.
well, yeah, I mean, obviously infantry, because I mean, I could say Mortarion, but that's a
No.
bad choice in this one.
One that can take an enhancement that lets him go up to full wounds at the end of every round.
Oh god, yeah.
Right.
Let's
God.
see.
I the Rejuvenating Swarm, Death Guard.
That's
Infantry
so
model. At
good,
the end
yeah.
of each phase, the bearer regains all of its lost wounds.
So Demon Prince not there. Typhus can't take it. A Chaos Lord starts with 5 wounds.
Lord of Virulence has 6. Lord of Contagion has 6.
Chaos Lord and
And
Terminator
those-
Armor has 6. Yeah, yeah. So you're looking at like
Uh,
5 or 6 wounds for most of them.
Yeah, but like a Lord of Contagion who's already got, he's got a 2-up, 4-up already
Mm-hmm.
with T6. I mean, he's
Becomes
going to
an
be
anvil.
near. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's near impossible to shift at that point. Like, there's some
And then-
really good stuff for them.
The droning chorus is another one. If I'm now thinking this is the air quote fast Nurgle detachment, since normally they move really slow.
Mhm.
Bring Scout stealth, and then the droning chorus to make a unit have assault on their weapons. So now you can actually advance them so they don't feel as slow.
Yeah.
So yeah, this seems interesting.
No, I like it. It gives them a different way of playing than like the index attachment. So yeah, it's good. This does exactly what I want these attachments to do, which is to provide something different.
Yeah. And I will say that I think in all of these, even in the cases where I don't think they necessarily do what they like, I don't think they function as well as they could, I think every single one of them gives you a different play style that isn't
Mhm.
covered either in the codexes or definitely isn't covered in the index. And they have said that these will not be supplanted necessarily by future codexes. So these should be good. And this does show the strength of these detachment system for 10th edition, showing that I
sure.
think this does do what it what they said it was going to do, and so I really like this option. Also, I'd like to point out that the last time we got 30 detachments in a row, they sold it in booked to us as boarding actions. So the fact that all of these are free is amazing. Do this more.
Yes.
All right, moving on, because we got a lot to cover. The Lion's Blade Task Force, Day 2, was the Dark Angels, and we got our mixed Ravenwing Deathwing detachment finally.
Yeah, I dislike the name of it. But because it's the Lion's Blade, I expected the lion to be a part of it. But this is your classic Ravenwing, Deathwing team-up one. Instead of like Ravenwing dropping the teleport homers and the Deathwing coming down, now it's Ravenwing get up in their faces and Deathwing assault while the Ravenwing are still in assault. So Ravenwing trap them, Deathwing finish them off.
Yeah.
Kit Bash the Lion riding on 2 Outrider bikes where he's like surfing it. And yeah, then you can include him in this detachment.
Yeah, here's my one gripe about this detachment the Deathwing actually, or Death Watch actually fixed. I have 0 Ravenwing because I don't have any bikes. But thankfully, now that bikes aren't a Death Watch thing anymore, I'll just take those bikes and move them over to make them Ravenwing.
Fair enough. They're the right color already.
Unfortunately, it's only one squad, but we'll look into that someday.
But yeah, the detachment rule, every time a non-monster vehicle unit is within engagement range of your Ravenwing bikes or Ravenwing units and it tries to fall back, they have to make a desperate escape test. And if they're battle shocked, they subtract 1 from those tests. So the idea is they're going to hold them in place. And then if a unit is within engagement range of a Ravenwing unit, when a Deathwing charges that unit, you add 2 to the charge roll. So yeah, the Ravenwing pins them in place and the Deathwing comes in and crushes them.
Yeah, and if you deep strike the Deathwing down, that's only a 7-inch charge roll you need. Which
that's
is
a very doable
doable.
charge. Yeah. I mean, that's the average roll on 2d6, so that's a good place to be. I like the enhancements are fine, adding 1 to damage, or you can shoot and declare a charge in a turn in which you fell back, and you can reroll desperate escape tests. So if you get into a fight that you don't want to be in anymore, you can easily get out. Improving the OC by for the unit you're attached in, or once per battle, pop back into Deep Strike.
Upsy
For
downsy.
Deathwing.
Upsy downsy.
Yeah, upsy downsy is always good, and yeah, so it is. I mean, it's upsy. Well, that's what it's known as now.
I know.
It's
I
just
know.
uppy downy.
It's so funny. It's just so funny.
I mean, I didn't even learn that phrase until the grand narrative, but I'm like, yeah, it works.
Yep.
We got Feel No Pain. We've got Armor of Contempt. Now we've got Upsies Downsies.
Yep. But yeah, definitely a style of play that, because like in the Codex supplement there was all Deathwing and all Ravenwing, and then like Greenwing, like just the generic Grim Stalwart, but this is the fusion force that there wasn't covered, and so now it is. So definitely fills a hole that was left from previous versions of the Dark Angels. So it was good to see this one.
I like it. I don't know how useful it would be, like you're saying, on others, but I like that it's there. I would kind of miss the Ravenwing. Well, you don't need that anymore because you can drop your own teleport homers for Terminators.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess this is the best thing they can do to have the first wave, second wave feeling.
Right. Moving on. Next up, we've got Tyranids on day 3 with the Warrior Bioform Onslaught, or as it's written in my notes, oops, all warriors.
Oh. Yes. So I think this is a pretty cool one because this was a way that I liked to play Tyranids back in 6th edition, where just a bunch of the warriors, and that's what this one leans into.
And oh boy, does it! So first off, I'm actually going to get to the keyword section before I get to the detachment rule, because that one needs the other. So your 2 strains of Tyranid warriors with ranged bioweapons and with melee bioweapons, gain the Tyranid warriors and battle line keywords. So yes, you can run 12 units of them total.
Yep.
And while they're not battle shocked, they are OC3.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's really nice. And then the detachment rule on top of that, Tyranid warriors and winged Tyranid prime units from your army have a 5-up invulnerable save. The thing that Tyranid players have been wanting for years.
Yep. Yeah, I saw this one and I was like, I have a bunch of warriors that like have always struggled to be like actually good. And I went ahead and collected them all, and I've got like 29 of them.
Jeez.
The question is, how many goes in a squad?
I think it's 3 to 6, I think.
It's 3 to 6.
I believe it. Last I remember, yes, that's
Okay.
what they are.
So if you have one more, there's like 5 squads of 6.
Or 10 squads
Yep.
of 3, depending on how they're equipped and how you want to flood the board with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to get one more. Actually, no, I have it. I have 3 winged primes. Also,
Yeah, it looks like
to go on top
3
of that.
to 6.
Yeah, and then with 3 winged primes, 2 of them can actually you'll actually have enough to hand out. If you have a Nero Tyrant as well, you can hand out all of the enhancements if you want to.
Yeah.
Because there's an enhancement that lets a Nero Tyrant join a Tyranid Warriors unit, or Winged Tyranid Prime gets +1 to their hit rolls every time a model in their unit makes an attack, or subtract 1 from the hit roll every time somebody targets them, or charge in advance in the same turn. Those are all good. Why would you? I mean,
Yeah.
there's not a single bad enhancement in that list.
Yep.
Like the only vaguely questionable one is like the Synaptic Tyrant. It just depends on how much you need a Nero Tyrant, but the other 3 are all fantastic.
Yep.
Let's see, and like all the strats key off of Tyranid Warriors. I mean, it leans heavily into Tyranid Warriors, but there's enough stuff here that's just like, you could run an army entirely of this, and maybe fill in a few. I think you'd run out of points before you ran out of Tyranid Warriors if you maxed it out. I'm not sure on that, but
Yeah, I'm not. I haven't messed around with actual list building on it yet, but yeah, like Tyranid Warriors aren't particularly super cheap, but they're also not super expensive either. So
yeah, Tyranid Warriors, 75 points for 3 with melee, 150 for 6, or 65 and 130, and the winged Tyranid Prime 65. So yeah, actually, if we wanted to max it out, it's 1980 points to run. You need the 10-point Synaptic Tyrant to add the Nero Tyrant. If you didn't take the Nero Tyrant, you could easily run all the other enhancements and have completely oops all warriors. So it just works.
Yeah, I think I'd not quite go all that in, because a lot of the stratagems also key off of the Tyranid warrior units buffing endless multitude units.
Right.
So you'd want to include some Hormagaunts or Termagants.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But you'd have so much synapse on the board. You'll never have a problem with coverage.
Nope.
So yeah, that one, leans into a style that is completely uncovered by the Codex and seems like it would be a lot of fun just to lean into. So yeah, that one's pretty solid. All right, moving forward, day 4, we got Thousand Suns, the Hexwarp Thrall Band, and this one was kind of interesting and weird because it's a board control. It's one of these that we've seen where it's like, your deployment zone is always this, and if you control enough objectives in the middle, it also counts as that, and if you control half the objectives in your opponent's deployment zone, that also counts as your zone. We saw that with the Canoptic Court for Necrons, and so now we're seeing it with Thousand Suns. The thing about it becomes your flow of magic, and the benefit to your flow of magic is you can reroll wounds on your psychic rolls.
Yeah.
Anytime you can reroll ones. If you're in your flow of magic, you can add one to the wound roll. The problem with this is there's not a lot for a psychic army. There's not a lot of psychic attacks in this army.
Well, and also the other issue that I have with this is this feels like a very kind of pile-on type rule where it's like, oh, to get in a point where you have like this big area of like flow of magic, you were already winning the game. Because you are already like in your deployment zone, you're already controlling objectives. It feels like, oh, you're already winning this game. Here's extra benefits. Oh, you're losing? Yeah, get bent. You know?
I'll toss out another alternative here because I have played against this already now once. This works good for a support detachment in like a team game. Because
that's
then
fair. Yeah.
You can have your forces in the back. Your flow of magic is your deployment zone. You just stay there. You're the back line. And you can build your detachment to fully use their few psychic attacks. And it hurts. Trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the very limited, very right situation, this could be good. Not generally, though.
Right. Yeah.
Which, to be fair, kind of feels like a good description of the Thousand Suns army.
Yeah, fair.
Like,
but like to your point, Kevin, like one of the stratagems here is warding hex, where it's like, oh hey, if an objective is in your flow of magic, it can be sticky until somebody beats your level of control on it, which means you already control it because it's in your flow of magic.
It's one of those where like, that's useful because it allows you to control it and like keep it, and it just, I don't know. I have difficulty seeing how this is better than the index attachment. This is like one of the few ones where I look at it and go, I just don't really see like what the benefit here is. But I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't play this army that often, so
right. But yeah, I think it's the biggest issue with it is that needed to key off of more units needed to benefit from it. I just don't think there's enough. I mean, there's a couple that'll like Magnus would be terrifying in your flow of magic
for sure,
and Armin probably not too bad. But after that, you're getting into like, oh well, I've got aspiring sorcerers with their like one psychic attack that's like 1 or 2 shots. It's like there's just not enough there.
Yeah, the list I was facing did have Armon and 3 aspiring sorcerers in it.
Yeah, see,
because that's how you build a Thousand Suns list. Like, you don't take anything else. You have to load up on those.
Oh no, he had rubric brains as well, but they were action.
Yeah, but the core of your army is always going to be like,
lots of
Magnus and 3 aspiring sorcerers. Like, that's, you start with that. Just like if you're playing competitive,
exalted,
or exalted. But like if you're playing World Eaters, you start your list with Angron and 8-bound, and then how many other points do I have for other things? So yeah, it's just the downside of a small model count army, like unit army, I guess.
Yeah, and there's just like so many other things. Like, and again, like the strats are okay. They get better when a unit's in your flow of magic. But again, if, like you said, if they're in your flow of magic, either you're on the defensive or you're winning the game.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to day 5. We had the Halo Screed Battleclade for the Adeptus Mechanicus. And this one was interesting. I actually kind of dig this one, because this one does targeted buffs. In your command phase, you select 1 or more units from your army, and they can be embarked in transports, which is unusual for a detachment rule like this. The maximum number of units you can select depends on the battle size. So for a 2,000 point game, it's 2 units. So it's basically 1 unit per 1,000 points. Until the start of your next command phase, those units gain the Halo override keyword. Then select one of the override abilities below. Until the start of your next command phase, units from your army with the Halo override keyword have the selected ability, which is either an extra 2 inches of movement, an extra toughness, advance and charge, or stealth. Also,
stealth and movement sounds good. Toughness, no. I mean, your 3 to 4 toughness is not a change.
It could change if somebody's wounding you in like 2s or 3s. I mean,
guess.
it also depends on also what units you're putting on. Yes,
Yeah.
for like their infantry, not that
Yes.
great. You
Right.
put it on maybe a Castellan robot.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different case.
Fair. I forget about them because I'm used to them not having their army rule.
Yeah. Also, well, here's the other thing. There's an enhancement, the Transoracular Dyad Wafers, for 30 points. It's an expensive enhancement, but you put it on a Cybernetica Datasmith who's attached to it, and when they join a Castellan Robots unit, that unit gets Doctrina Imperatives and the Halo Override keyword. They always get the buff that you select.
Mm-hmm.
That's just scary.
So they
No,
get their
the-
army rule, and they get this detachment rule. And they do say, like, you can't select that unit when you select one of these, but you don't need to because it's already on.
Yeah.
So, also another enhancement for Mechanicus that are not Cybernetica Datasmith, Conqueror and Conqueror Imperative and Protector Imperative are both active at all times, so you don't have to like toggle between them. And then like also one for Tech Priest Dominus or Tech Priest Manipulus, which adds 3 to their attacks and 1 to the damage of their melee weapons. So, I mean, like this one, there's some actual power here, and it plays like it doesn't lean into again any of the other spots that the other Mechanicus detachments do. I think this one's just a good alternative to the other Mechanicus detachments. It's better if you have Castellan robots, but it doesn't require it.
Because there's other things, like I'm just kind of slipping through the unit list here for Mechanicus, like Rust Stalkers and Infiltrators are all T4 by default, so getting them to T5 is huge. Your Sulfur Hounds, like the Riders, the Cerberus Raiders, the Cerberus Sulfur Hounds, they're all tough 4. Breachers and Destroyers are tough 7, tough 8. Tough 6, tough 7. So there's a number of units that would be very, very useful for this. And I think you're probably not going to necessarily put it on your Skitarii units, but being able to put them on other units like that can make a huge difference. So I think there's a ton of flexibility here.
Okay, so you proved me wrong, as I was pretty much just thinking of the infantry.
Boom, eat it. No.
I know.
Also, I do like that, unlike a lot of times when you see this, something gains this keyword, and now every stratagem keys off that keyword, there's only a couple that do. There's a couple that get better if they're used on a Halo Override unit, and there's one that lets you put a Halo Override unit, or put one of the upgrades on a non-Halo Override unit. Or if it's already a Halo Override unit, it can take mortal wounds and have a second one, which is kind of a neat idea.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
But otherwise, like, they have one that's like lets you crit on 5s, one that lets you make charges when you get out of a Scorpius Dune Rider. So again, it kind of like, hey, you can target somebody who's in a transport, and when they pop out of the transport, they'll have the buff already up. So yeah, this one's just good. There's a lot of models that can benefit from it, and it's very flexible. Like, this is, I think this, hits on all cylinders for Mechanicus. All right, moving on to day 6. Oh my God, Necrons. Oh man, Necrons got stupid with this one. The Star Shatter Arsenal, or oops, all vehicles. Relentless Onslaught. Each time a Necrons model from your army makes an attack that targets a unit within range of 1 or more objective markers, add 1 to the hit roll. That is already a good ability. You are trying to clear people off objectives. Then, in addition, ranged weapons equipped by Necron vehicles and Necron mounted unit models, excluding Titanic, so no monoliths, from your army have assault. So all your stuff can can charge up the board, can advance and shoot. And that includes things like Doomsday Arcs and Annihilation Barges, and also like all your heavy like the Locust Heavy Destroyers, because they count as mounted. All your Tomb Blades get assault. Like, there's a lot. The Silent King gets assault because he counts as a vehicle.
This is fun.
Yeah. We played a game recently. It was it was the Sniper's Alley mission for Urban Conquest, where basically somebody the attacker has to get their stuff off the board, and the defender has to stop them. And if the attacker can get one of they pick 3 units to be their Thunder Run units, and if one of them gets off the board, they win. And we were playing against a Necron player, and the Necron player brought the Star Shatter Arsenal and had one attack on our side not gone that way, the way it did, and killed one of the vehicles, he would have won on turn 2, because he would have just, because like the Doomsday Arc was able to like, he got a really good advance roll, and then it also had like a surge attack that he could do, or like a surge move. or like it could move after it's shot, and if it got shot at, it could move again. It was stupid. It was so good. So yeah, this detachment is strong, and again it like leans into stuff that, because like a lot of the detachments don't lean into like all the other vehicles that the Necrons have. It's like, oh look, monoliths, or oh look, cryptex or things like that. No, this one, or oh look, flayed ones and destroyers, or, like Scorpeg destroyers and things like that. And like, no, this one is the vehicle one, and it is really good because they have some really strong vehicles. So, oh yeah, and it's like, oh, Chrono Shift, don't roll for your advance. Just they move 6 inches when they advance, like as a stratagem. Or this Dimensional Tunnel, you can pick a vehicle and can just phase through terrain and models. They did that with the Silent King, just and it's just until the end of the phase they can move, so they can advance and tunnel through stuff and then just pop up on the other side. And it also doesn't specify normal moves, so he was able to fall back through terrain. So yeah, this is a really strong detachment. I did not see any unhappy Necron players online regarding this one. They were all very pleased.
Sounds like I need to start playing my Necrons again.
Yeah, you might. Your Dayglow yellow Necrons. Keeping up the trend of oops all vehicles, let's move to day 9. We've skipped day 7 because, I guess this would be day 8. Day 7 was Deathwatch. So we're on day 8 now, which got 2 detachments. And the first one was the Solar Spearhead for the Adeptus Custodes. Again, oops all vehicles.
Maybe. I don't consider this all vehicles, even though, yes, it is, but it focuses
oops
more
all
on
walkers.
Walkers.
Oops all walkers.
Okay.
Yeah. Walkers are vehicles.
I mean, technically, and that's why I'm leaning into that, but walkers get more of the buffs because of the rule that you can have 2 of your walkers gain the character keyword and thus have the enhancements, which you can't do for the Land Raider or any of the Forge World vehicles. Because that's about all the vehicles they have that aren't walkers.
Wow. Yeah, this is one of the few detachments where it's like you want to have the Forge World stuff available because you'll need it just to have enough.
Well, that's just Custodes in general.
True. But yeah, so the rules are Auric Armor. If a vehicle is at starting strength, unless they are aircraft or battle shocked, they have an extra 2 OC. If they're below starting strength, they reroll hit rolls of 1. And if they are below half strength, they reroll hits and wounds of 1. So the more damage they take, the better they get.
Yeah, except for that OC part, and that's the part where they are so bad, because even at the +2, they're worse than War Dogs, and they're comparable in cost to War Dogs.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh my gosh, War Dog. This is trying to make a War Dog list, but the War Dogs from Knights are still better in all respects.
Right.
It makes me sad.
And then also, all your walkers get an extra 2 inches of movement and add 1 to advance and charge rolls.
Yes, which I do really like.
Yeah. I also like that because one of them becomes because up to 2 of them become characters, they can be your warlord also.
Yeah, and I mean, 2 of these, like the adamantine talisman, improve your strength and damage characteristics of your melee weapons. That's
And
big.
attacks.
And attacks. So I mean,
And
they've already
attacks, yeah.
got decent weapons, but they normally are like damage 3. So add an attack, add 1 damage. So now you've got like 5 attacks at damage 4, which is better than 4 attacks at damage 3 by a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And then the other fun one, the augury uplink, giving them a feel no pain 5-up, which you don't think that would be necessary, but feel no pain is probably the best defensive ability.
It's
Because, yeah. Oh, yeah, you hit me for 6 wounds, I'll take 4 of them. So, I mean, yeah, it's so nice.
And then you've got a couple of, like, synergy enhancements,
Yeah.
which...
But if you're leaning into this, synergy's not a thing. Because custodes are so expensive point-wise anyway, so
Right.
if you're trying to focus on walkers, you really won't have much points for anything of the troops.
True. That is true. And then again, as expected, most of the stratagems key off of vehicles, although a couple of them key off of mounted as well, which is nice, especially with bikes being better. That's not a bad thing to have. So, I mean, there's a lot of good here, though.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to play that playstyle, this definitely helps support it.
Yeah, I think this is a very solid detachment. Great, no, fun. It looks that way. I'm still debating if I'm going to try this one out or the Eldaria one we'll get to later as my other one, since everyone knows Votan's my number 1 detachment I'm going to try out soon.
Right.
But I like the concept of this. I would love to see the Telemon marching down the field because its guns are okay, but it's better in melee. And I've got the Achilles, it has the giant spear.
Yeah,
Him marching
that was
down
cool.
the thing, that would be fun getting there. And truthfully, even the Venerable Dreadnought is actually decent with this. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Having all 3 of those on the board, getting these buffs, 2 of them be characters to get an enhancement, that just sounds kind of fun. But at the same time, I don't know how it'd do against a horde. I don't know if I'll have hordes I'll be facing. I don't know. But yeah, curious, interesting. I like it.
Need more of their more of the Forge World models redone in plastic for Custodes.
Yes.
Oh
Really,
yeah,
really
I mean,
do.
if I could use more of their vehicles, I might lean into make maybe just 1 or 2 dreadnoughts and then the rest of the vehicles. But yeah, the only vehicles I have are a 1 Land Raider and 1 Sisters of Silence Rhino, which does count for this detachment.
That's not true. You have the Orion.
The
It's an
Orion, I
aircraft,
believe,
so-
yes.
Well, it wouldn't
Okay.
get the extra OC, but it would get everything else.
Okay. I thought okay.
It's only the first one, the
Got
OC
it.
one limits on vehicles.
And no, I don't
Or
like you
limits on
taking the
aircraft, yeah.
Orion due to the fact that it's like 690 points, so in a 1,000
Yeah,
point list, that's
it's not
pretty much
good.
your army, and it
Yeah,
has
it's not,
no
and
OC.
It's not good. Yeah, and it's not good. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if it was 400 points, I would be tempted because it would be kind of good because it is a good gun platform.
just about any unit in the game would be better if it got a 200 point reduction.
Hey, I'm just comparing this because I can
Yeah.
take more shots with my Repulsor Executioner than I can
Yeah.
with my
Oh.
Orion.
Oh, I agree. I think it's way overcosted, but yeah, I think you can make that statement about any unit that, yeah, if the points decreased by 200 points, it'd be absolutely be worth taking.
I mean, I think this one needs that 200 point decrease.
Yes.
Truthfully,
Yeah.
I think you're right, but
The other half of day 8 was the Veiled Blade Elimination Force for Agents of the Imperium. And I did not put this one down as oops all assassins because you cannot make a list of all assassins, but it is all the assassins.
I mean,
It wants
you
to
can take all 4 of them.
You can, but you can't make a full list of. It's not like, oh look, I can make a list of all vehicles and mounted or all Tyranid warriors. Like you cannot make a list of all assassins because you're still limited to 1 of each assassin.
yeah.
And this
Maybe
one,
in a 500 point list.
And like they do take that into account by the fact that a lot of the stratagems don't specifically target assassins. They just get better if they target a particular kind of assassin.
Right. Which
So
is
they know that, they know that you can't make a list of all the assassins. I will say, Agents of the Imperium is already a weird mutt of an army anyway.
Yes.
This screams 1,000-point narrative list.
Oh yeah.
To me. For that, I think it's really interesting. It's also interesting in this is the first attachment we've ever seen that says you are taking these enhancements, all of them. You have no choice.
Yeah, you do. If you just don't take the model,
Take that assassin. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
I do think it's very interesting because it harkens back to like the old like second and third edition like assassin codexes where you got like those extra enhancements and things. So I think that's kind of neat.
Yeah. And so basically the army rule here, extremist sanction, or the detachment rule is assassin units from your army can use overkill, soulless orb, and shield breaker abilities twice per battle instead of once per battle, but can't use it twice in the same round. Especially for Vindicare, that's terrifying. Shield breakers so good.
Yes and no. I've only used it twice where it hit, and I've yet to kill anybody with it. I've left people at 1 or 2 wounds, but yet to kill anybody with it.
Yeah. And then the other part is when each assassin you choose has the relevant extremist ability, and you must pay the point cost. The cheapest one is 35, the most expensive is 45, so this is a significant points bump for each one, but I do think...
I'll take that 45 easily.
Oh yeah, the micro melter rounds for the Vindicare, giving him anti-monster and anti-vehicle 4 up. Yeah.
That is very much needed, because when I had a big thing and I was like, oh, well, the assassin, nope, let's go find a character I can actually hurt.
Like, I'll say this honestly, like, if you're going to be splashing an assassin somewhere, this is the way to do it. If you have the points, if you can take the points for the extra upgrades, this is so much better than box standard assassins in the Imperial Agents book.
Yeah. Calidus has a fun one that's a return to form for the Calidus that it decoy targets, where that model there, that was a Calidus all the time. You pick a unit on the battlefield, like you pick a model inside one of your friendly units that's not within engagement range, and boom, that model is destroyed. It was actually a Calidus.
I do like that, because that gives you board manipulation where, oh, I'm over here. You think you're safe? Nope, I'm over here now. I think in the past, though, you could select an enemy unit.
You could pick an enemy unit. Yeah, so it's not quite as good as it used to be, but it is a way to move. And because you can take a model that, like, you can take a Calidus that was on the board and just shunt it around like that.
Yes.
Twice per game. That is cool. Yeah.
So really, you want to take some of those smaller, like, Agents of the Imperium troops just to scatter them throughout the board to give you kind of, well, 1, you want them on objectives, or 2, if they're advancing, well, suddenly the Calidus is here to help out for that next assault. Hey.
Right. And it happens in your movement phase, but not at the end of your movement phase. So based on this, you could decoy shunt the Calidus around and then still move with it.
And then charge and kill something.
Yes. Yep. The Calexis does mortal wounds more easily with its grenades. That's okay. I mean, mortal wounds on a 3-up is good, but not huge.
The Calexis I've always thought is just okay.
Yeah. The Eversor, once per battle, gets a free heroic intervention or counteroffensive strat. Again, it's okay. I mean, the Eversor is terrifying to fight, but that's good for it. But it's no micro melt around. Like nothing is as good as the micro melt.
The fact that it lets you use it twice if you have something else you're going to assault or counter offense with.
Yeah, I
like that. But I mean, this is also why it's the cheapest of the enhancements.
And sorry, it's not once per battle; it's once per battle round. So you get yeah. So heroically intervene once per battle round. Okay, yeah, that's pretty nice for free. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Although it probably is once per battle because he's probably going to die.
How often is that going to? Oh yeah,
sure.
Right.
Yeah, I like this because, like I said, this really feels like the old Codex Assassins, where like you get like the super buffed up, like better versions of them in like a free 2-page document. So
Right.
yeah,
Totally not competitive, but probably a lot of fun to play at a narrative level.
Yeah.
All right, let's see, that's day 8. Moving on to day 9, we got another double dose with Imperial and Chaos Knights dropping at the same time. We're going to do Chaos Knights first. The Iconoclast Fiefdom, where you are allowed to bring up to a quarter of your army from damned units from Chaos Space Marines, which is going to be various varieties of cultists and Traitor Guard.
I find this hilarious, but awesome that you get knight support.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so your Titanic Knights provide a 9-inch bubble of damned units making re-rolling hits and wounds of 1. Don't get attached. Because Chaos Knight units from your army also have the following ability, Dark Sacrifice. Every time a Chaos Knight unit with this ability is selected to shoot or fight, it can make a Dark Sacrifice. If it does, select a damned unit within 6 inches. That damned unit must make a leadership test. If they pass, you destroy D3 models. They don't take D3 mortal wounds, so you're like, oh, well, I'll just take like the torments and mutated unit. No, they'll still die. If they fail, you destroy D3 plus 3 models in the damned unit. In either case, then select one of the following abilities for your Chaos Knights: lethal hits or sustained hits 1.
And from what we've seen with Chaos Pact from the Chaos Space Marines, those are really nice things to just have on hand.
Uh-huh.
Yes. So we actually had our local Chaos Knight player try this out like a few days after this was released for one of their narrative games. He was like able to borrow cultists from people to try it out. And he's like, okay, so I took one of the I took one, I think it's the Desecrator that is their like generic knight that can take like all like double ranged weapons.
Yes.
And he's like, I put Profane Altar on it and gave them lethal and sustained hits 1 and murdered everything around me.
Yes.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah.
And I mean,
He's like,
I see that a lot with like some Slanesh players in Chaos Space Marines are like, oh yeah, I've already got lethal on this thing, I'll get sustained as well. Because lethal and sustained is a deadly combo, and then that mech with all of those guns, oh, ow.
Yeah. There's and other detachments like give three damned units from your army scout 6 inches so they can get into position so you can move your knight up to be ready to eat them. Or Tyrant's Banner, just pick a damned unit you can see rather than one in 6 inches. Well, that one's only a 5-point upgrade. That's like an easy 5 points to throw on.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Or Diabolical Resilience, you have Feel No Pain 6 up and can ignore any modifiers to the move and or any advance or charge rolls made for it. That one's a little bit more expensive at 35, but like all the enhancements are good. You do lose the ability to rotate ion shields. Like you don't get that stratagem in here. But also like, hey, like they even give you a stratagem for 2 CP to bring back a damned unit other than a cursed cultist. So, I ate all my cultists. That's okay. I'll just make more.
Just poops them out.
Yeah. You can only use it once per battle, but like a lot of these like bring back a full unit. But
this seems super fun.
And the other thing I love about this is the army might be, I guess, what? 1,000 points, 2 giant knights, and then the rest be cultists. So each knight has its own little cultist pool.
Yeah. Now this one, it's fun, but like our Knights player, Chaos Knights player, was like he did miss like there's a stratagem in the regular detachment that lets them like move through terrain without having to do like the battle shock thing, and he missed being able to rotate his ion shields. But he's like, I think I might play this from now on, because it also gave him an alternative from playing Oops All War Dogs.
Yes, and that's what I was leaning into, is because I'm tired of seeing all war dogs.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of the big knight stompy with the people supporting them. And I guess my Custodes comparison from previous is like, it feels like a War Dog list, but not as good as a War Dog list. So
Right.
I'm happy that the Knights focused on Knights.
Yeah. I also like the fact that they have they have a stratagem where you can basically like tie up a unit with your damned and then shoot that unit.
Yes.
You don't care about the cultists at all.
So good.
Until the end of the phase, enemy units are not considered to be within engagement range of your unit.
Yeah. However, each time an enemy model loses a wound while your model's unit is within engagement range of your unit, roll a d6 on a 4-up, one model from your unit is destroyed. So it's like, yeah, might end up blowing up the entire unit of cultists, but
It's a 50-50 shot.
to make an omelet, you gotta break a few eggs.
Right, exactly.
I actually want to run this like with like the Trader Guard army that I've been working on. It's like, well, I've got these Chaos Knights I could build, and I've got Trader Guard. Like this would actually, because Trader Guard, because they actually have range attacks, having that 9-inch aura of re-rolling hits and wounds of 1 would actually make them good if you don't eat them all immediately.
Yeah.
But
So-
your knight hungers.
It does hunger, but yeah, no, this one is this is so much fun. This one I really dig. And then we get the flip side of this, the Questor Forge Pack for Imperial Knights, which is kind of the same thing as far as like you can take units from another army, and in this case you can take a limited set of Adeptus Mechanicus. Basically, you can take Skitarii, like Skitarii Rangers, Skitarii Vanguard, Skitarii Marshal, Tech Priest Dominus, and Tech Priest Manipulus, up to 500 points worth in a 2,000 point game. So again, a quarter of your army.
I mean,
and this,
Rob, doesn't this feel like the old when Mechanicus and Knights first came out way
much,
back in the day?
Very much so. Very much so. No eating the Mechanicus in this one, though. The Mechanicus are fine. In fact, this kind of works a little bit in reverse. Imperial Knight units from your army have the ability, in your command phase, one model in this unit regains a lost wound. If this unit's within 3 inches of one or more friendly Tech Priest models, they get D3 wounds back instead. So you can have Tech Priests following around your knights and keeping them topped up. And also Mechanicus units from your army, if they're they can reroll hit rolls of 1. If they're within 6 inches of one or more friendly Imperial Knights, they reroll wound rolls of 1. This is just more of a mutual buff army.
Yeah, and I like that. And we've seen this before, like with the old Custodes with the Talons of the Emperor, where your Custodes and Sisters of Silence each helped each other. And I kind of like it because it encourages you to take, I would say, balance of both, but in this case, you still can only take a quarter Mechanicus. But I like the synergy of the Mechanicus helping out the Knight protecting the Mechanicus. It's nice.
Yeah. It gives you some like infantry units for like scoring objectives more easily, like, you know, allowing your knights to be a little bit more free to do their thing.
Mhm.
They even give you an ability to target a Mechanicus unit with your Bondsman ability as a stratagem, which is kind of neat. You've
Or
got
if you have a giant one enhancement to get it 4 more wounds.
Yeah, that's it's 30 points, but that might be 30 points well spent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now this one's just neat. Like this one, it's like it's not as wildly fun and silly as the Chaos Knight one, but this is just a good solid knight detachment. Like this, yeah. So yeah, this one's just, it's good, and again, it's an alternate way to play knights, and really leans into having survivability on your knights. You know, whether it's extra wounds, healing wounds all the time. The Magos Questoris you can actually put on one of your Tech Priests and just auto heal an additional 2 wounds on Imperial Knight within 3 inches, and the Tech Priest gets blown up if it's within 3 inches of the Knight. So also
amazing.
really good. Yeah. So this
And
one's just, yeah.
Don't forget Thronagist Fury.
Yeah, Thorngeist Fury, where
Overwatch.
yes.
You get it back, Knights, for 1 weapon, but still, you get it back.
Still.
Depending on the weapon, that could be a lot of shots still. So
Oh, I know. So, I mean, it brings back all sorts of fun things for Knights.
yeah.
You don't get all the other buffs, but I like it. If I actually own Mechanicus, I might try this out, but just like I don't have cultists and I don't have mechanics. So these two.
See, now this is where like I have some spare sprues mechanicus. I have a Tech Priest Dominus sprue. I have a Manipula sprue. I have a Scutari Marshal. I have Rangers and Vanguard. I have enough like big knights put together. If I put those together, I could run this.
I mean, I could proxy Bone Singers as them, I guess.
Well, that's to say, yeah, this is, I was actually going to just suggest that. Like, this is where you could get creative and, like, yeah, use your Eldar Knight and proxy, like, your Bone Singers and, like, Dire Avengers or something as Scutari Rangers. And, yeah, like, you have this force with just Eldar Knights, with Eldar.
Dire Avengers. I have my own Rangers I could make.
Or Rangers or whatever.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But, like, I was just thinking of, like, the basic, it's true, but like, yeah, like you could absolutely do this with the stuff you already have.
Yeah.
Get creative, folks.
All right. Let's see. We are on to day 10 now. And day 10 brought us Grey Knights, specifically the Warpbane Task Force. This is another area control. This is kind of like the Warpbane or the Hexbane or Hexwarp Thrall, whatever it was, the Thousand
Suns.
Hexbane, Warpbane, Nightbane, I don't know.
Magic Flow.
But this is also
Bane.
What if you made the Thousand Suns detachment, but it didn't suck?
What?
Yeah.
So, the area control again. This time, it's considered your hallowed ground. Your deployment zone is always your hallowed ground. If you control half the objectives in no man's land, that's hallowed ground. If you control half the objectives in your opponent's deployment zone, that's hallowed ground. Also, anything within 6 inches of one or more purifier squads in your army is hallowed ground.
Mm.
Each time a model in a Grey Knights unit from your army makes an attack roll, reroll a 1. If it's a purifier squad or is wholly within your hallowed ground. Okay, so it's every time you make an attack, you reroll 1s. Purifiers and anything within hallowed ground, and purifiers are always in hallowed ground, obviously. You can just reroll hits.
Yep.
So comparing this to the Thousand Suns, Bane, Hex, whatever. Yeah, like this is so much freaking better. Like, because it's like, oh no, you get to reroll 1s on everything, not just like 4 or 5 random psychic attacks. Like, this is so much. And they could have easily done this for the Thousand Suns, where it's like, okay, all of your aspiring sorcerers are now, tainted ground or whatever they're calling it in that one, and like give you this benefit. Like, and it would have been fine. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, but then people would complain it's too much the same. They just copied the Grey Knights and pasted it on
I think people would complain a lot less that it's the same than that it sucks.
Well, okay, that's
Yeah.
I was also just leaning into, hey, Grey Knights get their own version of Oath of Moment, and it's really cool because it affects everything.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. This is kind of like the Tyranids one. Like when I first started playing Grey Knights, purifiers were kind of the thing that I went in heavy on and liked to play them, and then they've since not been really that special. Seemingly, this gives a good reason to play them.
Oh yeah. Enhancements. Oh, just add 3 to your OC for a character, or give a character precision, and if they're within your hallowed ground, every time they make a melee attack, the target takes and scores a wound, the target takes a mortal wound in addition. Models in your unit have stealth, or once per battle, select a friendly unit within 18 inches invisible. That unit is considered within hallowed ground. Just like, yep, you're hallowed right now. Just go for it. And like all the strats play off of hallowed ground. Some get like, there's even like,
I mean,
like
that first one, Rob, is really good. Adding 1 to the reroll 1s or reroll the whole wound rolls if you're in the hallowed ground. It's just
reroll.
Purified.
Only purifiers get to reroll the whole wounds, but still,
yeah,
great.
rerolling is good.
Yeah.
Flames of Sanctity, just, end of the fight phase. Roll a d6 for each enemy unit within 6 inches of your unit. Add 1 if Castellan Crow is around. On a 4-up, the enemy unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. So just like, hey, spend a CP. Good chance to do some mortals. Deep strike somebody with a 6-inch deep strike if it's within your hallowed ground. So yeah, this one is like, yes, your hallowed ground is, and this, because purifiers are always in your hallowed ground, this also addresses the issue of it's only good if you're winning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
this is very good.
This one is very good. And yeah, if you have purifiers, and if you don't, take Strike Squad, paint helmet white, done.
Yep. Because that's what it is.
Yep.
Speaking of armies that don't have many units.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, they have a fair number of units. They're just all the same model.
All the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair. Now this one's a good detachment. This one is area control done right.
Yes.
We're gonna go from one psychic to another now, though, because for day 11 we got the Space Marine Librarius Conclave, and this one felt like a throwback to old 6th edition stuff because of the psychic disciplines that got mentioned.
Oh my gosh, yes. It was kind of neat seeing all of the disciplines kind of back in the book, sort of.
Yes. So, psychic disciplines is your detachment rule. At the start of the battle round, select one of the following psychic disciplines. Until the end of the battle round, that psychic discipline is active, and its effects apply to all Adeptus Astartes psychic units from within your army. I like the fact this is also not once per battle. You can select each one once. You can just keep the same one up the whole time if you want.
Yeah, do you want to be a Biomancy army? Just pick it every turn.
Yeah. So Biomancy is add 2 inches to your move characteristic. Divination, reroll hit and wound rolls of 1 every time you make an attack. Pyromancy, if you attack a unit within 12 inches, improve the AP by 1. Telekinesis, anytime somebody shoots at you, subtract 1 from the strength. And telepathy, ignore any modifiers to weapon skill or ballistic skill and or all modifiers to the hit roll. So you are going to hit what you're going to hit on, and nobody can change that.
I like all of those because they kind of fit the theme of that discipline.
Mm-hmm.
So far I like it. Yeah. Keep going.
Enhancements, again, old powers, prescience, celerity, obfuscation, fusillade, and one of them does exclude Terminators. That's prescience, because they don't want you to get too much extra movement. But
yeah, that's fair.
when an enemy unit ends it, so the first one, prescience, if they end a normal advance or fallback move within 9 inches of you, you get a D6-inch move or a 6-inch move if divination is up. I do like how these key into, hey, if you picked this discipline, the enhancement gets better. Celerity, you can advance and charge. If Biomancy is up, you can fall back and charge. Obfuscation, you can't be overwatched, and if telepathy is up, you basically have lone op unless they're within 18 inches. And Fusillade, all your ranged weapons get anti-A monster and anti-vehicle 5-up. And if Pyromancy is up, sustained hits 1. If Telekinesis is up, 6 extra inches of range. None of these
all
are bad.
Seem good.
They're all useful, and again, it lets you kind of play how you want. And the fact that you can have a discipline up multiple turns all works really nicely with this.
I mean, the only downside I really see, you have to lean in on the psychers because
you have to,
put as many of them as you can.
Yeah,
and I don't have that many. I think I can only field about 3 right now.
Yeah, because the most I think you could field 10, 3 regular, 3 Terminator, 3 Phobos, and then a named one.
Yeah.
I've got 1 Terminator, 1 Phobos, and 1 regular.
Yeah.
So I guess I'd just have to double up or triple up on
I'd
those.
have, I could run these with my Blood Angels, and I have a Terminator, a regular, a Phobos, and I have Mephistons. Oh, and I guess if we're dipping into Legends, I could run a Librarian Dread.
Yeah.
Are Librarian Dreads unique character, epic characters?
No, I think you can run.
So you could run 3, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go, Blood Angels.
3 librarian dreads with some of these abilities would be terrifying.
Oh God, yes.
Maybe that's why they shoved it off into Legends before it could be a problem.
Right, yeah. And yeah, all your strats, like, either target psychers or target units that are near psychers. And again, get better based on what discipline is up. Yeah, like this one, it's not super powerful, but if you want to run librarian, a lot of librarians, it's a fun one to run. Like, it's not bad. It's just, I wouldn't say it's super powerful. I don't think it's going to be highly competitive, but
No.
for narrative play, this is great.
Unique, distinct, different, and it's we already know that there is not a librarian detachment or anything like it in any Space Marine codex in the past. So yeah, I like it because it's fluffy and it's different, and that's why I think we've seen it for a lot of these.
Yeah. And then finally, for part 1 of this, we got to day 12, which is Chaos Space Marines and a return from something from like 8th and 9th edition, Creations of Bile. Fabius Bile gets his own detachment again, his own little army. And this one's actually pretty cool. At the start of the battle, you select which augmentations are active for non-damned Heretic Astartes infantry. You either select one from the list or randomly roll 2d6. So you can get 2 of them if they're random, or you can pick one. Duplicates do not have an effect. So if you roll the same thing twice, that's just too bad. However, if you have Fabius Bile as your warlord, you can re-roll 1 or both dice. And all of them are basically stat buffs. +1 attack to all your melee weapons, +2 inches of movement, +1 weapon skill, +1 for melee weapons, +1 toughness, +1 strength, +1 ballistic skill for all your ranged weapons. Just good buffs. Good buffs all around. There's not a bad one in the list. The fact that you can pick one lets you kind of tailor, and it's at the start of the battle, so you can look at what you're facing and be like, yeah, this is what, like, I'm playing somebody who's using a lot of strong weapons, I'll take the extra toughness. I'm going to want to get into close combat, which you're probably going to be playing a lot of, since this does affect infantry, Heretic Astartes infantry only. I could see leaning into the assault focus, so +2 inches of movement, or +1 weapon skill, or +1 strength, all good. I don't think too many of your, like, the strats don't lean into these. Like, you've got the buffs, and then you just have strats that are good. One that, like, somebody attacks you, attacks one of your infantry units, it's -1 to be hit. Masters are watching. After an enemy unit selected their targets in the fight phase, your units can fight on fight on death on a 4-up. If reroll wound rolls against characters, if you destroyed the characters, then you pick another unit within 6 inches and they have to make a battle shock test. Suffer D3. Okay, here's one. Suffer D3 mortal wounds and then gain an additional augmentation until your next command phase. Return D3 damage models to a battle line unit, or 1 if it's a non-battle line unit, and charge and advance and charge. This is all just a generally good detachment.
Yeah, nothing screams, "How this is awesome," but it's just like you said, it's solid.
Yeah, nothing screams bad. Nothing screams. Yeah, like, I don't look at this like, oh, everyone's gonna be running this now. But it's like, this is cool. And this would be this is something, because I have a Fabius Bile I need to finish painting. This is something I could actually run with my Emperor's Children while I wait for my Emperor's Children to be Emperor's Children again. So, this is good. I like it. Very, very on theme. Yeah, no notes. Yeah. And so that takes us through the first half of everything that has been released. So,
AKA the first 12 days of Grotmas.
First 12 days of
brought to
Grotmas.
us.
Yes. And they, we had a couple of double releases in there. We are going to get to the rest of them after a break. But first, if you want to help support the show, one thing you can do is join us on Patreon. If you join us on Patreon, which is our online tip jar, it's basically $1 a month. Is, we don't have multiple tiers. We just have the one. We don't lock any of our episodes behind a paywall. Everything's free. This is just a way for you to help support us, and you help keep the show income neutral, which we really do appreciate. And also, it gets you access to our Discord, which we love hanging out with our preferred frenemies on the Discord, and also gets your name in the video version of our episodes on the credit roll. So, just as a thank you to all the people who support the show and help make it possible. So again, that's patreon.com/preferred enemies if you want to support us there. So we'll go ahead and take a break for sponsor identification, and when we come back, it'll be days 13 through 22 of Grotmas. See you in a bit.